Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley as we begin a Tuesday. Gary, what's happening?
Well, for a second there, I was real scared when I heard, well, reports are Trump's going to pick Waltz for his national security director. I went, what?
What?
Oh, Walz.
Yeah.
No, Walz.
Well,
Okay.
Waltz with a T,
Right.
not just W-A-L-Z.
Right.
You know, Tim Walz didn't even spell his last name correctly. How can we trust a guy like that?
You know, the first thought that I had, and I got this because of a tweet from Glenn Greenwald, who talked about the fact of, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, Elise Stefanik, ambassador to the UN, Walz national security advisor, and said, these are all neocons. I'm like, that's not what you hear from. It's not what you're hearing from Republicans right now. But it's interesting that he said that because this is something we didn't spend a lot of time on this, during the actual election. But this is a thought, and I don't know if you and I have actually discussed this, but I've thought all along that a significant portion of Republicans, or let me just say society in general, because I don't know exactly where to target this at, don't really understand what Trump was promoting. Trump was promoting peace through strength.
Yeah.
Not capitulation, not
Right.
isolationism.
Not
Right.
appeasing the enemy.
Right, not appeasing the right. Trump has not come out and said we're going to cut the defense budget in half.
Right. That if we look
Right.
away, our enemy will go away.
Right.
That's not his approach.
It's the fact. It's really when you think of it. If you talk about whatever the concept is supposed to be of neocons, well, they want to get us into wars. To me, now, people may differ, but what I get from Trump is, no. We're going to go after our enemies. It's just, for example, with Israel, people were wondering when Trump said, about a month ago, he said, I told Netanyahu, you got to finish this thing up.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't mean that you just agree and go. No. You go after and you destroy Hamas completely. You don't mess around. If you're going to be in
Right.
a war, you don't mess around. And instead of going, okay, well, they shot over here. They shot and they took out this infrastructure over here. Let's take out the infrastructure over there. We saw it during Trump's first term. It's like, well, no, I'm not going to sit there and what do they call it? You respond in a what do they call? I can't think of the word. If they hit you in a moderate way, you only respond in a moderate way.
Right. Yeah.
And Trump has said no to that. No, I'll
Right.
take out your leaders.
Yeah.
That's what he did
Yeah.
with Soleimani. And so actually, when you think about it, the concept of the neocon war, which would be the endless war, you get involved in a war, but what's the end game? Are you going to win? Trump hasn't said that the United States will not project our military power to
Right.
protect ourselves and our allies. He said, we're not going to screw around. And for some reason,
Everybody's got that backwards.
everybody's got it backwards. Of no, we're going to become more isolationist. I don't get that from Trump at all.
I don't think so. I thought I guess I just assumed that the whole Soleimani thing, taking out Soleimani, would have set that record straight.
Right.
Because you go over his record in his first term. One of the first things he did, a massive bomb in eastern Afghanistan, taking out a huge ISIS faction.
Right.
And at that point, there was a three-way war: the Taliban, the government of Afghanistan, and then ISIS. And taking out ISIS, some of the missions that you look at, what the way that Trump carried them out, these were targeted missions, and then the word about the conversation that he had with Putin the other day. Look, you need to back out. You need to end this. And I don't know. Nobody knows what the details of that conversation.
Yeah, Putin claims it didn't happen.
Right. Well, and Putin's one of the forefathers of modern day propaganda. So,
oh no, I trust him completely because I voted for Trump.
I'll say this: I trust him more than I trust Joy Reid. I'll just leave it there. if we're going to have a scale, but all of these things.
By the way, I'm kidding. Somebody's going to take that seriously. Where I said, "Oh, I trust Putin because I voted for Trump." I can imagine. I heard you say
exactly,
it.
exactly.
You said it.
Well, and that was the liberal media tried to take off with that one because Elon Musk apparently populated the call with Ukraine. And it was like, okay, well, then what's going on here is Elon Musk. Someone was asking on social media, is Elon Musk going to be the national security advisor? No, that probably had to do with communications, Skylink and Ukraine. But the entire picture, I don't know. I thought the table was set. And it appears that there is this misunderstanding, or maybe I'm grossly misunderstanding where Trump is. I don't think we are.
No, and you and I have not had this conversation.
Right.
And
we haven't. Not even off the air.
And I thought about it before we went on the air, and I said, I'm going to ask. And I said, no, save it for the air.
Yeah.
Because I think he's going to be exactly where I am. I
had this conversation. In fact, with my oldest daughter on Saturday.
Oh,
we went to lunch, and we were talking about things and post election and where Trump is and his approach to national security, and all of those things. She's a terrific mind when it comes to my daughter, world history, loves that stuff, but. I was kind of laying that out there. But the way I laid it out, when my mindset as I'm talking to my oldest daughter was, I thought it was a given. You know what I mean? I thought it was that everybody, but there was something else, a couple of stories since then that made me, and maybe it's because of the fact that he's putting together, his cabinet nominations and everything else, and where are we going to be, and where do people think that he's going to go? But also, it had me questioning, are we in a Ron Paul kind of scenario where there are some people who support him that don't know exactly where he stands? Some people who voted for him that don't know and think that he is one way, in this case, maybe an isolationist. Then we bring up Ron Paul because when it came to free trade, everybody said, he's against free trade because he's against NAFTA. No, he's against managed free trade, and it's on his website. And the fact that so many of his staunch supporters back then didn't know that, and it was like, okay, how much is known, or what do people actually think is going to happen? We've seen this. We've seen people project what they want or what they think onto their candidate of choice a million times. We've been doing it a long time, and people do that all the time. Oh, he's going to do this. Oh, he's going to do this. I think he'll do this. I don't know what he's going to do. I can tell you what he's done.
Right, but they kept saying throughout it, peace through strength, peace through strength. What does that mean?
Right.
When you say peace through, that doesn't mean you back off. It doesn't mean you become isolationist. It means that when you put the hammer down, number one, you don't set red lines that you allowed to be crossed.
Right.
That's the entire point. Don't do this.
Mm-hmm.
Massive sanctions right now.
Yeah.
We're not messing around. Massive sanctions. You attack us, you kill one of us, we'll kill 1,000 of yours.
Yep.
Or we'll kill your leaders, as the whole Soleimani. And so the whole point, and that's why when I saw Glenn Greenwald's thing, he's loading it with neocons. I'm like, well, what's the number one? We use these definitions, and it's like I don't even know what is a neocon today. What does that mean?
Right.
I tend to believe how the public takes it, or the X universe takes it as Well, there's two things. First off, you're more of an isolationist, and the United States shouldn't get involved in these things at all. Or you don't believe in the endless wars that don't have where the pressure isn't being put on. If that conversation happened, and they said it did, with Putin, you stop it now. If you don't stop it now, there's going to be serious consequences. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to flood, you think you've got oil. We're going to flood, the world with oil. You've got, Europe already saying they're going to take it from, from the United States. We're going to open it up. We're going to do it. Everything else. And whatever else he's putting in there, whatever else you could do as the president, but you're serious about it. You just don't throw out BS and then don't do anything about it.
Right.
That's what I get.
Right.
I get it. The fact, look, we're not going to waste our time as a country negotiating with people that we know will not negotiate in good faith.
Exactly.
It wasn't, we're going to be weak and we're going to back off at all and just let the bad people of the world take over. It's like, no, we're not. Don't mess with us. Don't mess with our allies.
Right.
It's that simple. So, and it's the endless wars without a purpose. And I guess it comes from Vietnam, and it comes from anything else that we've been involved with. And you look at, for example, there are some things that are going to be endless wars. So, the reality is, if you're saying, for example, we needed to stay in Afghanistan and keep the airport and have a 2,000 people in there. To me, we've got troops all over the world. That's a place we should have had troops. Right. You can call me whatever you wish to call me, but the fact is, Islamic fundamentalist terrorism is not going away.
And it was a key point for Intel at the time too.
Yes, exactly. Right.
Up until we left, and the vacuum that's created when you pull out, then creates what we see now, and that's a terrorism superstate that's already been built. Now,
when Trump first got in, we did have questions about will he be more of an isolationist? But that to me is gone. I'm talking 2016.
Right.
But that to me is gone. After he took out Soleimani, because remember, we had planes. We were about to go and attack Iran, and then he decided not to.
Right.
And it was like, oh boy, is Trump weak here? Is he not going to? That was the question being out there.
Right.
And then when he killed Soleimani, it was like, whoa.
Right.
Okay, this takes it to another level, a new form of seriousness. We're not going to sit there and just, okay, we need to make sure that we strike back. But we need to strike back exactly how you struck us.
Exactly.
The hell with that.
Right.
No, you struck us. You don't do that.
Right. Well,
and you're gonna pay a price for it.
You crippled the enemy. You the sanctions on Iran had them on their knees. Biden reversed that, and it's fully funded them so they can fund Hamas and Hezbollah and all of their their terrorism around the world. This is something that we pointed out time and time again. You choke them out. You do the same with Putin. The one thing is you can't negotiate with these people. They have no interest in meeting you in the middle. None.
No.
They have no interest in meeting you in the middle. The question is, how much power do they have? Where is their leverage? Where are their strengths? Well, for oil, for Russia, it's oil. It's grains. It's, that kind of thing. That's why, for Putin, his relationship with China is key. They need his oil. He needs their backing. He needs their weapons and war machines. Those are the things that, but you look at Putin and how long he's been in control and all of the stories that show that a lot of his equipment is outdated. They're not keeping up with, basically keeping his military infrastructure strong. Don't get me wrong; he still has plenty of weapons. The biggest of which are the greatest fear. But it makes you wonder how much for him it is the game. I believe that was the case with Saddam Hussein. I believe that was the case with Kim Jong-un. I want to enrich myself. I want to have the ultimate power, but I really don't have the power to do much else and probably don't have the will. When Kim Jong-un reached out of his own borders and killed his half-brother at an airport in Malaysia, that was a huge, massive, massive move and a mistake. And where it is right now, you can't go to the table with people like that. You can look them in the eye and tell them and make them believe, that you're strong. Joe Biden's never been able to do that. I think one of the things I was thinking about this too. One of the things, and Putin actually said this at some point over the years, one of the things about Donald Trump that everybody knows is he's unpredictable. You don't know what he's going to do. You also don't know what he's saying sometimes, right? These are the claims that, it's like, he's kind of talks in Trumpisms and it's like, okay, what is he saying? If you're the enemy, that has you guessing. That has you, because after the killing of Soleimani especially, it has to come with action. But he has shown his strength. He's unpredictable, and you really don't know what he might do. I think that's why the enemies fear him.
We got a great show. 866-90 Red Eye.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Cold temperatures and water can lead to only one outcome, and ice has no place in a truck's air system. That's why you must keep your air system moisture-free as the temperatures begin to drop. A simple step toward keeping your air system moisture-free is manually draining the air tanks. You should drain your air tanks more frequently if your vehicle has a high air demand. Moisture that is not removed by the dryer must be manually drained from the tanks. Pay attention to how much water and contaminants drain out. Too much water indicates the air dryer isn't working properly, and too much oil may indicate that the air compressor is worn. Make sure your air system is in top condition before plunging temperatures put it to the test.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, I just thought that was interesting when I saw the Glenn Greenwald thing. Okay, Trump's bringing in all neocons. I'm like, okay, what's and then I thought, this is something, when Trump was saying over and over again, and J.D. Vance over and over again, peace through strength, peace through strength. I'm like, they're not selling isolationism.
Well, and let's just say, okay, that, I don't know, again, I'm with you. What does neocon even mean these days? Let's just say these people coming in were, I don't know, Glenn's version or definition of neocon. There is a mandate that is clear. This is a very different, in terms of putting together this cabinet. This is a very different process than we saw in 2016.
Oh, yeah.
And it is should be a clear message to anyone who's coming on board, who's being nominated or who's being hired in the staff, what the tone is and who the incoming commander-in-chief is right now, today, and what the American people want him to do. So, assuming that, okay, they're neocons, whatever that means, by Glenn's definition, and we have, lots of respect for Glenn. But if that's the case, I still think the tone is very clear on everything right now as it's being put together. And I have confidence that that's going to hold. We didn't have that kind of confidence in 2016. It was kind of all over the place. There has been I think there have been a number of reckonings over the years for Trump. And I think we're looking at a very different situation. And the election results, I think, point to a very, very different setup for this incoming administration.
Call and join the conversation. 1-866-90 Red Eye. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. Big news.
Yeah.
The Republicans have the House.
There you go.
So it's
All right.
what was the other thing I wanted to bring up here? Oh, there was what was it? There's a ton of stuff. There was just one thing I wanted to bring up, and I can't remember. Whatever happened to? Well, what do you mean? Obama, for a significant portion of time, was deporting more illegals than Trump was. Where did that go?
Yeah, that seems to have gone away.
Where'd that go?
Yeah.
See, we don't live in the bubble of today. We remember. Where'd that go? What happened to that one?
You know, this is why it's...
What happened? Oh, what are you guys talking about? Obama deported more people, so we need Democrats to deport more people.
Uh-huh. Right.
What happened to that,
remember,
Democrats?
Look, you know, the one thing I liked about Kamala Harris is she was going to build a wall.
They're going crazy over Holman. You know, one of the things he said, and we'll have the audio cut coming up when he was talking to, it just popped into my mind now, when he was talking to Sean Hannity last night. And Sean Hannity said, if local governments are helping to move people, you know, if these state governments, aren't they breaking federal law? And he goes, yeah, that's human smuggling.
Yeah.
Like, oh, my God.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I went, whoa, is the federal government going to go after different state officials? Now, he did say, you know, for the sanctuary cities, goes, do what you want. You know, just stay out of our way.
Right.
Because if you say we're not going to cooperate, fine. Instead of sending 100 agents, we'll send 500.
Right. We'll get the job done without you, basically.
And so if you start moving people, if states actually start moving illegal immigrants around, that's human smuggling. That's against federal law. It just goes, that's a felony. And the thing is, normally when you have somebody, a bureaucrat, throw out the precise portion of the law, you know, when I became a talk show host, I'll never forget one of the pieces of advice I got was, when you talk about something, every time you open it up, you know, tell people what the law is. Don't read off the number in the section.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
Because people are like, huh? You know, tell them what it is. Don't say, well, in this law, the Senate law 1522 and then 49B, just say the law that does this. But when he does it,
I love
it.
I like it because,
when he does it.
Well, when others do it, it seems like they're trying to stall.
Yeah.
When Holman's doing it, he's telling you he's got the evidence right there. He's got the backing of the law. He can cite the statute right there, which is what they should be able to do. Because if you think about it, you know, one of the things about if you think about the way that Mayorkas or any of them in the current administration have been answering or not answering questions, the way that they avoid questions. Holman is somebody who will interrupt you to keep answering the question. He's somebody that will keep giving you the answer whether you like it or not. The others we've seen in the Biden administration stall and stall and stall. Well, this is an ongoing investigation. We're not going to be talking about an investigation. The border is secure and blah, 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 blah. You better come in prepared if you're going to have Holman sitting opposite of you.
What he does so well is, and he brings this up because it's when Democrats say, are you doing this? He goes, yeah, because it's the law. Mm-hmm. The people, through their elected representatives, I follow what they do. I'm not doing anything that isn't under the law. Apparently, you as a representative, then he'll lecture them. Apparently, you as a representative don't even, that's enough, Mr. Holman. No, it's not enough.
Right.
He goes, no, under the law, you're looking at me and as if I'm doing something wrong. I'm following the law, which is what the people want through their elected representatives, what Congress passed. I'm not doing anything else. I'm only
Exactly.
doing what the law is. I'm enforcing the law, which is what I'm supposed to do. And you're implying that I'm doing something different.
Exactly. Well, and you think about the idea of oversight, right? It's a great idea. Our elected representatives, if they have a question about how anyone in the government is acting, they can bring that person in front of them, and these oversight committees can grill them on it. And Holman resets the table as to who is who and what is what the role is in that scenario. And that's the approach that you should have. The Oversight Committee wants to ask him questions. Great, he'll answer them. But keep in mind, the Oversight Committee works for the people. They are the eyes of the people. They are there representing the people. And if he's not doing anything wrong, and he can back everything up. In fact, it's his obligation to do that and answer in that manner, I believe, if he's in front of oversight.
Now that Republicans have the House and the Senate, that will be much. That will be must-watch TV when he's on next year.
Yeah.
Because he'll be called.
Yeah.
He'll be called, as they all are, to testify about how things are going.
Yeah.
And one of the things is he'll probably be called because he'll be requesting more money. He'll be called because they wish to increase the budget. So you can expect that early on.
Yep.
And Democrats.
No.
And this is the whole point. Where are you going to go? Now you're seeing some Democrats coming on and going, maybe the radical transgender movement isn't the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe an open border isn't the way to go.
Maybe calling everybody Hitler isn't the way to go. I'm just joking. We're going to keep going that way.
Well, as we have said, they've tried everything. And I said, I think this is an important thing. If you wonder why everybody's freaking out on the left, it's because they've used everything. They've used all of their political ammunition. Where do you go after Hitler? We even said this a couple of weeks ago. Do they go Satan? Well, they really can't go Satan because if they say Satan, then they're admitting that there's a God, and so they can't do that.
And we also know that Satan and his daughter endorsed Kamala Harris. Dick Cheney.
Right. So they already got the same.
So, sorry, you can't win.
So...
Sorry. He's your guy now. You got to own it. Got to be proud of it, right?
but it's where they don't know where to go. They've used everything. They have demonized to the max. There's nowhere to go. And on the issues, all the major issues that they stand for, the public disagrees with them by landslide numbers. They don't know where to go now. That's why you see the insanity of what's going on. They don't know what to do.
Right.
And so they're doing what they're doing. Oh, sorry, you're to blame. You're the oppressor. You're the oppressor. You're the oppressor. You're the oppressor. And you're going back and forth. And I don't know where it ends for them, because how do you change, especially with identity politics? And I've got to find, who was it yesterday that was saying identity politics is killing us? I'll find it coming up. But you got Democrats now, well, this whole thing of identity politics, judging people by groups and not individuals, is working against us. No blank, Sherlock.
Yeah.
You just figured that out now?
Well, and the problem with them is that they've all gotten to the edge of the cliff. The sheep are begging to go over the cliff with them. And they've stopped at the edge, and they don't know how to stop all those sheep from coming. You can't unindoctrinate. This is generations of people that you have ingrained into their DNA this kind of thought. Tell me how you reverse that. Tell me how you reverse it. Look, we saw a couple things. We saw the actor Michael Rappaport. He had his awakening. Number of liberals did. Saying, look, I bought into the lies. I bought into how they're behaving. But Joe Rogan, Elon Musk makes electric vehicles, and he's no longer a liberal. Say that out loud.
Oh, did you hear the biggest news yesterday?
What's that?
Trump told his golf buddies, no more golf.
Yeah.
I'll be too busy. When we get things fixed, then I'll be back
I'll be
golfing.
back.
He goes, I'll play once in a while, but the weekly golf is done.
One of the things that you can say about Trump is that it kind of goes hand in hand. Okay, everybody, his ego, he puts his name on everything else. So, okay, fine. Now let's apply that to a second term in the way that he got it, which is unprecedented. It is historic in so many ways. Assume on that, along those same lines, that legacy building is going to be everything. But I actually believe he's in it to fix it. Whether you believe that or not, that's, I guess, on you. You can, I believe he actually wants to fix it because I actually believe he cares about fixing it. But assume that he doesn't, he only cares about his legacy, it still requires him to fix it. And this is where we are as a nation. I believe there's been a number of reckonings that he's had. And I believe he's stronger and in a position now, both as an individual, but politically also, to actually get some work done.
We had said this a couple of weeks before and said that if Trump loses, and if you've been a long-time listener to this show, you know that we have criticized not only Trump, but the Republican Party when it comes to communication.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we both said, and we both agreed, if Trump loses, they ran a good campaign.
Can't blame the campaign.
They put forth everything.
Yep.
He was the best Trump campaigner. And now that we're 6 days, think about this, 6 days.
Wow.
I'm sorry, 7.
7
now.
today.
7 today.
It was a week ago today.
7 days.
Wow.
I'm waiting. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? There's too much discipline.
Yeah. Right.
But
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah. What's about to snap?
What's exactly?
Yeah. No.
But I think that look, you run for president. Anybody who is that big, I don't care whether it's Elon Musk, whether it's Mark Cuban, whether it's Bezos or Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Everybody has an ego.
Yeah.
Everybody has an ego.
Right.
But if you think Trump's ego, if you believed it got in the way before, or if you believe he's a narcissist and his narcissism got in the way before, you haven't been paying attention the last few months.
And that's what's clear to me now, that it is a very different situation, a very different individual. And I think also, again, a historic level of support. How this happened, when historians write this, the toxicity has fallen away.
I know.
It's
a joke now.
It is a joke. It's become a TikTok joke, kind of thing. And now, because it tends to fall away anyway with time. History has different eyes when they look back on it. It's going to be incredible when they look back on this campaign season, this win, and I'm hopeful and I'm confident in this next 4 years when they look back on it and go, wow.
866-90 Red Eye.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's our Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. I'm sorry, just was going through X. Scott Baio.
Oh, yeah.
Chachi writes, anyone heard from Meathead?
I haven't seen Rob Reiner post. Maybe he did. I've been away from. I'm not spending during the election season. It was like full on, almost around the clock on social media because so many things were happening. Backed away from that a little bit, but maybe he has posted. I don't know, or did he delete his account like Bette Midler? Did Bette Midler ever come back to whatever she? Was it Instagram that she deleted her account?
Nothing from Rob Reiner.
Nothing from Rob Reiner.
Past November 5th. It's game day. Let's win this. That's it.
Okay.
Nothing.
All right. Well, you can't see the keyboard, typing the keyboard when you're, got so many tears in your eyes, I guess.
He's drowning his sorrows at Archie's place.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just saw this on social media. The racist misogynist has chosen the first Latino Secretary of State to go along with the first female chief of staff. And by the way, this just in from CNN. Mm-hmm. Trump picks Kristi Noem to serve as his Homeland Security Secretary.
Wow. All right. All right, then. Look, again, and putting together this cabinet, one thing that is very different than 2016 is the election results, the mandate that the president has, and also the tone in this nation is very different than it was in 2016. So for those fellow Republicans / conservatives that are being nominated, there is, I believe, it is in fact, likely that they fully understand what the roles are and what the tone is going to be in this administration. It is clear from, and of course you can only have this with hindsight, but his last administration in his first term, it was filled with a number of people who clearly didn't really understand that. They thought they were going to do their work. They thought they were going to fulfill their agenda. The agenda is set. And I think everybody coming in, I have confidence everybody that's being nominated here is aware of that and understands that it is about, doing the will of the people, which is what we saw last Tuesday, what they want in this regard. So the border's going to, when you look at Holman, and I think, if it is Noem, I think it is a pairing for a very good, disciplined border patrol situation where they have what they need. They're going to have, and this is something you and I have talked about over the years. It's, all right, we build a wall. Do we have this? Do we have this? You're going to have to, the border chief is going to have to be very clear. There's going to have to be a much stronger communication. And I think there will be, because they all want the same thing now. And you can't say that. I know for a fact the Border Patrol agents on the ground did not like the way that this administration was running, the border. And it's very different, clearly, with Trump. And I think you're going to have to let the border chief, the border czar, and the Department of Homeland Security secretary, they're going to have to all work together very closely to make sure that all of those agents have everything they need on the ground.
Just another update here from 44 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Progressive Representative Jayapal reneges on support for axing the filibuster after Republicans flipped the Senate.
Yeah, I bet.
Apparently now all Democrats are not for getting rid of the filibuster now that Republicans have flipped the Senate.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, what a zoo.
Is she evolving? Or are we going to hear that? Oh, she's evolving. She's
Well,
grappling.
We had said it the other day. Well, look, let's unite the country. Democrats wanted to get rid of the filibuster.
Yep.
Republicans in January
Yep.
should say, okay.
Yep. Yeah. All right. I love it.
All right, I saw this and this was really interesting, and I just went, they just don't get it. But in a way, they do. Ezra Klein, columnist for the New York Times, this is from thehill.com, said the Democrats need to take seriously how much scarcity harms them in a Monday post on social platform X. In his post, the left-leaning Klein shared some of his thoughts from the conversations I've been having and hearing over the last week, including the hard question of how to build a Democratic Party that isn't always 2 points away from losing to Donald Trump or worse. Klein said in another part of his post that the Trump election, that Democrats need to take seriously how much scarcity harms them. I saw this. I go, scarcity? What are they talking about? Housing scarcity became a core Trump fans' argument against immigrants. Too little clean energy becomes the argument for rapidly building out more fossil fuels, he continued. A successful liberalism needs to believe and deliver abundance of things that people need most. If it isn't doing that, it's failing. What he fails to mention is it's impossible, the direction that the Democrats are going, to provide abundance to the people of the United States. The whole point is they say you've got too much.
Right. Yeah, they're looking to take it away.
You saw what California just did.
Right.
By 2026, was it another $2 a gallon?
Right.
For gasoline.
Right.
Taxes.
Right.
Democrats don't want to, they're running 180 degrees away from abundance. You've got too much.
Right.
I mean, it's just.
I'm waiting for them in California to put in a deflation tax. Since inflation has tamed somewhat, we're bringing inflation back by imposing a tax. This will make this will make Californians better prepared in the future if inflation goes up again. They'll be used to high prices.
Well, I just find it interesting that you've got, what we need to do, and look, we knew it from the campaign with Harris. That's why she reversed 180 degrees on all the major issues that she believed in. And so what the Democratic Party is saying, if we wish to succeed, then we can't be Democrats any longer.
Right. Yeah.
Do they even understand? Is there any self-awareness?
No, there isn't.
Well,
but they've been morphing for so long. Trying to, and this is the problem. You build something on a house of cards, and you wonder why it doesn't materialize. You wonder why it doesn't hold up. You wonder why you can't get people to actually trust it. And they just keep going again with the wind. That was exactly how her campaign went.
I know.
Oh, no. Wall. You ain't seen a wall till I build a wall.
Remember the ad?
Kidding me?
Yeah, she was talking about, I'm going to build. Trump couldn't get the wall built. I'll get it built. Stop it.
Seriously, history, it will be so bizarre to go back and if anybody writes the book, somebody's got to put the series together over the last 8 to 10 years. In 2016, you're a racist. You're a xenophobe for wanting to build a wall. We're not a nation of walls. We want to tear down walls. Blah, 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 blah. To 2024, their nominee going, oh, you ain't seen a wall till I build a wall. I'll build a better wall than Trump. When you're trying to morph to become everything, and you can't, it's like that scene from Terminator 2. Yeah, listen to me. It was a good movie. The ending's a little weird. But when the T-2000 is sent into the molten stuff, then it starts to morph into different things trying to survive. Mm-hmm. Like a liberal. Trying to morph into whatever the wind says to survive. And it doesn't work that way unless it comes from the heart, unless you have a change of heart. We've seen a few liberals have a change of heart in the last couple of years. Politically, you just can't turn on a dime. You just can't. And I don't know where they go from here. I don't know how you build campaigns out. I don't know how you build the trust again of where, I don't know. First of all, I don't know how they built it years ago. They had this pop culture rock star kind of thing that, for those that don't know, did not start with Barack Obama. It started with who the Democrats called the first black president, Bill Clinton, and a saxophone and a pair of shades on Arsenio Hall. Yes, the very same Arsenio Hall. And they wanted to create, and then a little help from Fleetwood Mac, who kind of went on to regret that whole thing. And they wanted to build that pop culture thing. They wanted to bring, this Elvis effect into it and rock star status. It's cool to vote for a Democrat. Well, reality doesn't care about cool. Reality, when you're struggling to pay the bills, nobody cares what your image is. When people feel insecure because the rise in crime, the broken border, and a president who doesn't have the mental awareness to be commander in chief, all of those things are greatly unsettling, and nobody cares about the cool rock star. That's why the Democrats can't find a rock star, because there isn't one. There isn't someone who means it. Say what you will about Donald Trump, but he means it.
When you said Arsenio Hall, all I could think of was In Living Color and how they added the pillows to his rear end.
Yeah. And also his fingers. Yes. They went with really long fingers. Yeah. That was very funny.
I did see a long interview with Keenan Ivory Wayans. Mm-hmm. It's about 15 years old.
Yeah.
And tell me one thing about YouTube, when you see so many different things, whether it was, the stuff within Living Color, how many things in life, even bands and songs and everything else, how everybody's living on the edge. You think that it's all well organized, and it's not.
Right.
It's just, they're just trying to survive, and they're like, this isn't going to make it, and no way. And they're always saying, this is the end, but they do it with a certain level of confidence. And I found out in life so many things that you think are well organized, and it's not.
No.
For example, David Bowie, when he first came out, remember the whole Ziggy Stardust thing?
Yeah.
And he went, okay, this guy's figured out what he's going to do and going to be weird, and remember the gender bending and everything else?
Yeah.
He was drowning. He was like less than a year before, he was singing children's songs. Yeah. He didn't know where to go.
Right.
And just in life, so many things, you think that are well organized, and they're not, especially in entertainment. But, when you mentioned, I just thought of In Living Color. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Man,
That was very
what
funny.
a funny family that is.
Yeah. Oh, man, yeah.
What a funny family.
yeah.
I'm telling
Yeah,
you.
they are.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Uncompensated detention at docks frustrates drivers of all stripes. If you're an owner-operator, you have at least some control over the matter. Make the subject a standard part of your rate and/or contract negotiations on the front end. You can use your own numbers to calculate an hourly rate to compensate for lost income opportunity, as well as fixed costs, which don't stop when the truck stops. Those two elements of a fair detention rate were deemed appropriate by most of Overdrive's audience almost a decade ago. We've used income, fixed costs, and miles average of our owner-operator business services from ATBS's clients to compute an average $64 an hour detention rate then. And 10 years later, the figure is $83 an hour. Use your own numbers to calculate your rate. A simple conversation with any broker or shipper or your carrier if you're leased about what you're putting in the rate might yield results you don't expect. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carney, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, so Christy Nome, apparently CNN reporting, is going to be the head of Homeland. Wait a minute. On Homeland Security.
Yeah.
Homeland Security? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Homeland Security, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, it's coming in too quickly. This was actually earlier. Representative Lee Zeldin will be his Trump's EPA administrator. I just like some of the headlines here. Politico, Trump picks Lee Zeldin to lead EPA. CNN, Trump picks GOP former Congressman Lee Zeldin to lead the EPA. The New Republic, the absolutely liberal publication.
Mm-hmm.
Trump picks new EPA head, guaranteed to destroy environment.
Yeah, right. Guaranteed.
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 Like, you got a guarantee.
Well, who's guaranteeing that? And who do I see about that when that doesn't happen?
I laughed at that, but Lee Zeldin, who ran for governor of New York and lost by 8,
Did very well.
Well, when you look at this last presidential election in New York,
yeah.
and you look at the governorship, all we heard was that Texas is going to flip.
Yeah, right.
That Texas is going to flip blue.
Right.
Right now, New York is closer to flipping red than Texas is to flipping blue.
That's mind-boggling. That is mind-boggling.
Based on those two elections, the last election, which was just last weekend,
right,
and that one a few years ago,
right.
New York is closer to flipping red than Texas is to flipping blue.
Right. And it's interesting because you see the shift in demographics in Texas a lot because of there's been a huge migration to Texas. We have more and more corporations moving into our area. In fact, another one yesterday was announced. And you see a lot of new jobs being created, and as a result of that, a lot of people moving here. But that I'm wondering how much of that it has the impact that it did before. Just because people move here from California, that was going to be, that was the idea. Now, we've seen, and this has been the case for a long time, the major metro areas are blue. We know that. And that's where a lot of people move for those jobs. But when you look at the dynamics of what changed with Trump's support, it was the New York Times that pointed out he made ground, he gained support in all of the boroughs in New York City, all of them. Those are things that you look at, when Donna Brazile was saying, well, his game and blah, 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 blah. Well, you're ignoring the big picture here, Mr. Brazile. But I'll say this. reality was delivering it. They clearly were organized as a campaign. I don't want to take that away from the Trump campaign because they really were. And I think in New York, I think Lee Zeldin was a big part of that. But beyond that, it shows you what reality delivers and what the Democrats can't deliver. When they get into this, we're no longer in the abstract. And I really wonder if we ever will be again as a nation. I don't know how you turn around the sentiment or that learning process that had so many people deciding not to vote for Democrats this time. I don't know how the Democrats would turn that around. I really don't.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when you choose.
And thank you.
As always, thank you. All right. So I'm looking here, and this popped into my mind after seeing Lee Zeldin for the head of the EPA. And I started thinking just the people out there and Homan, for example, yesterday doing a number of interviews and explaining precisely what he plans on doing. Workplace raids are coming back again. First off, they'll go after all the criminal illegal immigrants that exist out there. As he said, one of the goals is to find the children that are missing.
Yeah.
But
right.
I thought, just to move away from politics for a moment, I mean, it's all political, but when I saw Zeldin, I said, okay, this is a guy who was able to just barely lose New York a couple of years ago for governor.
Right.
As a Republican. He knows how to explain things. Think about this. Outside of where they stand on the issues, well, I guess it can't be outside because it's one of the reasons that they couldn't communicate effectively. This administration, they're not the last yet. The Biden administration never explained anything.
Right.
Karine Jean-Pierre never explained anything. She deflected. Biden was hardly out there, and he was all over the place when he was trying to explain something. And when it came to the biggest things out there, the biggest concerns that Americans had, all of it was a lack of communication or lying.
Yeah.
On inflation. Remember what we got in inflation. It's transitory. It's good.
Yeah, it's good.
That's the best. It's good. Well, how can inflation be good?
People are spending more money.
Right. Since something costs you more money, you're spending more money, and therefore it's good. I mean, the insanity of the things that they were promoting. And on the border, how long was the border secure? You remember Mayorkas, it was maddening. He wouldn't answer any questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you had an administration that said, we're just not going to communicate anything that we're doing. And if we do communicate, a significant portion of what we communicate will be absolute lies as to what's going on. And then everything else, you look, for example, at Israel, they want to cover both sides of it. That I don't know whether when that was, but it went viral. Marco Rubio talking about Israel.
Yeah.
Slam dunk. No. Hamas. Destroy Hamas completely, totally. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the kind of clarity that it seems like is coming. It seems like that this is what this incoming administration, wants to promote. And what they're saying is the American public agrees with us. We're going to tell them this is what we're trying to do. The Democrats would not communicate because they knew they couldn't communicate what they were actually doing because the American public disagreed with them. This makes it really interesting of where we're going in the next couple of years, and I think it's uncharted territory because now the toxicity of Trump is gone. I mentioned earlier, it's almost a joke because you bring up the the result of the toxicity, and it would be the number of liberals that are on social media, crying and not going to have sex with men anymore, poisoning men. It might be a solution. I mean, it's completely and totally unhinged.
Yeah.
And so you look and you say, all right, what's coming out of this administration? Just seen, what's his? I got mind blank here for a second here. Tom Homan. He was explaining. Look, he said yesterday the cartels are animals, and that's why President Trump's going to take them off the face of this earth. How many people disagree with that? We're going to find the children. How many people disagree with that? Criminal legal aliens have to go. And hey, by the way, you Democrats were promoting the fact that Obama and Biden were deporting people.
Yeah.
So what's your point if we deport people?
Right.
And so you look at it, everything they're explaining, and I'm sure on every other issue, they're going to explain, because Trump has explained, here's what we plan on doing, which then you ask yourself, all right, where's all this going? The toxicity of Trump is gone. Trump is not on the ballot. Now, for the midterms, they may say, but Trump, but that didn't work. It failed miserably. So the one thing you look at is the midterms coming up. 2 years for the midterms.
Yeah.
Where do they
Right.
go?
Right.
When you get in, let's say, for example, Homeland Security wants more money next year. Can you can pass anything through the House, even if you've only got a 1 or 2 vote margin, in all likelihood that's going to pass for this. And it's not about Trump anymore. It's about, because the people have made it clear what they want. Not what Trump wants, but what they want. How are the Democrats going to respond to that? How are they going to respond to that when it comes to, illegal immigration and wanting more money in order to do what the people said? Because that's what they're going to say. The people have said, this is what we want. And when you look at it, very few people are saying, well, no, the public hasn't made it clear what they want. Democrats aren't making it. Where do Democrats go? Where do they go? On all the issues, they're landslide losers.
Well, and their reaction to losing is part of the reason they lost in the first place. And they keep it up, this insanity, but it burns out very quickly. Really, it is a lot like that last gasp of the T-2000 and Terminator 2 in the molten solution, just trying to stay alive in any way. But that was the desperation you saw from the liberals. They can't understand why their game plan didn't work. They can't understand how, after all this time of being able to win elections by putting on a charade and by changing the definition of words and by going after people endlessly, why didn't it work this time? Why didn't it? Why weren't the American people? Because of what you and I have said. Identity politics built out a scenario where eventually everybody is the oppressor. They're coming after you. Black men who were wanting to vote for Trump, they're coming after you. Women who want to support Trump, they're coming after you. Their identity politics created and demonstrated, in fact, their hatred, their own hatred, and where they are as a party. Who does that? That's the whole thing. They don't know how they lost this time when they've done this before. The mob has kind of put this threat out there, this veiled threat to groups and people, and they were still winning elections, and it didn't this time. And I think a lot of it has to do with the number of people who are now standing up, who were former liberals or who were being targeted by the left. And that wasn't going on for the longest time. That was a problem, and you and I talked about it. Where's the outrage of people? Well, now we see it. But the left doesn't understand that because they were doing everything they've been doing for years.
I think this is it looks like they're taking advantage of this opportunity to explain things to the American people and be blunt about it, knowing that the American public backs them on the issues. And that's the thing in politics. It's easy to be blunt and communicate effectively when you know you're doing what the American public wants. And if the other side isn't doing it, that's where Trump has the ability to go and say, look, you put me in office to get this job done. The polls showed this is what the American public wants. The Democrats are holding us up. Reagan did that.
Yeah.
You go to the people that put you in a historic election. You say, here's what we're trying to do. So where are Democrats going to go? What issue? It all comes down to what issue do Democrats have? And I go back to where, just a few months ago, you'd have Democrats come out and say, Biden's deporting people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Obama deported people. Obama, remember, what did they say? Obama had a title for that.
Deporter-in-chief.
Yeah. He was deporter-in-chief.
Yep.
And so it's like, you can't win that argument. So what one issue, okay, I'll say more than, I don't know what one issue is, but what is the core of issues that the Democrats can have? And we mentioned Ezra Klein, who said, well, the Democrats have to realize that scarcity is killing them, that people want an abundance of things. Well, yeah, but the socialism that you're promoting does the opposite. Capitalism is what gets you an abundance.
Well, and that's
market
the thing.
forces get you an abundance.
Right. And it's they are the opposite of abundance. And that started years ago. Barack Obama, at some point you've made enough money.
Yeah. Sorry, Africa, you can't get air conditioning. That was the best.
Don't start building a bunch of cars and putting air conditioning in your homes.
Yeah, you can't get them because the oceans will boil.
The oceans will boil. That's what he said to them.
What an idiot.
Yeah.
This is the smartest guy in the world. He's an idiot.
Right. And then he jumped on the plane that's designed for one person and is the biggest plane in the world.
Yeah, I know. By the way, we called him an idiot at the time for saying it.
Right.
You tell the continent that arguably has the most poverty on the planet.
Right.
Sorry, you can't have what we have. Ha, 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 ha.
Right.
Because the earth will boil.
Right.
Or the earth will boil. The oceans will boil.
Right. We'll send you some more vaccines and some food. But calm down on the whole cars and, development and expanding wealth and having a better life and such.
Yeah, you can't be a first world. You can't live in a first world society.
Yeah, no, we can't have.
Sorry, poverty is going to be your way. I'm Obama, and I talked hope and change, and the idiots of the United States went, that sounds really good.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
And so maybe I can BS you the same way.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. He's the smartest president we've ever had.
Uh-huh.
Oh, he's dynamic. He's an idiot.
Right. Just over and over again, the examples of how they built out where they are as a party, as a movement. It's not, I don't even look at it as a party as it is a culture. Political party is one thing, and you can define that, but it is the culture of that party that you can't unseat. You're not going to go in and find people who think differently to run for office within that party because, again, the culture dictates how they think and how they're going to run. Yeah, you would have you've got a few more what they call moderates, here and there, but it is nothing. It's a very tiny fraction of the party itself because of the culture that they put into place, and you cannot undo that.
866-90-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Now, this piece of audio came out yesterday. I don't know if this was yesterday or months ago or whatever, but everybody was posting this, and it was Marco Rubio talking to reporters. When, I don't know, but it was about Hamas, and it was about Israel. And I just want to play this because we were talking about communicating and being clear. Here we go.
Senator Rubio, will you call for ceasefire
No, I will not.
in Gaza?
On the
Senator
contrary.
Rubio,
Are you filming it?
wait
So I
a-
want you guys to get this. I want them to destroy every element of Hamas they can get their hands on. These people are vicious animals who did horrifying crimes. And I hope you guys post that.
And what about the civilians
I
that are
blame
being
Hamas.
killed every day?
Hamas should stop hiding behind civilians, putting civilians in the way. Hamas knew that this was going to lead to this. So Hamas should stop building their military installations underneath hospitals.
So
and
you
underneath
don't care
civilians.
that 15,000
Absolutely, I
have
do.
died? You don't care about the babies that are
I
being
care. I
killed
think
every
it's
day?
horrifying. I think it's
Yeah.
terrible, and I think Hamas is 100% to blame. That's what I think. Make sure you post that, please.
There you go.
Make sure you post it, please.
Exactly.
And that can be the comparison that you make. An administration that wouldn't explain anything
Right.
and would deny what they were actually doing to an administration that says, here's exactly what we're going to do because the public wanted it.
There you go.
You can set up over the next couple of years and you promote it. That's the difference. You saw when Democrats were in power, they wouldn't tell you what they were doing. They
Right.
said, inflation was good.
Right.
They told you that the border was secure. We're not going to do that. We're going to tell you the truth. You start setting that up now, and you communicate effectively as they have so far.
Yep.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA. We are Red Eye Radio. Welcome. Good morning. Thanks for being here this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. Next up, Thanksgiving.
That's crazy. 2 weeks from Thursday.
I know. It's like, wow.
My kids were together with some of my kids over the weekend. So what's the plans for Thanksgiving? My response, as it is every year, I don't know. Eating?
Yeah. That's really it.
Yeah. You'll be traveling, right?
Yeah, Tuesday night I direct flight in, and then there Thursday or Wednesday, Thursday, back Friday morning.
Yeah. All right.
So
I haven't seen an estimate as to how many people they think. I'm going to guess more than 1 million.
yes,
Flying.
Yeah, I haven't seen an estimate either.
I haven't seen one yet. That is it next week, probably.
It'll come out next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
From people because they'll be doing the estimate. It's like probably from Friday to the next Sunday night.
We'll
Is that what they
we'll
do
do
there?
some driving, but it's just regional. Couple hours. Go see my parents and my wife's folks and that kind of thing.
For me, it'll be easier because after I had to show my 75 forms of ID and proof of birth in the United States, I was able to get, my TSA pre-check.
Yes.
So,
and wait in a room, just sitting there, and just the one chair in the room. Gary just sits there. We're going to come back with the answer. When? When we have the answer.
It took about 4 weeks.
Yeah.
A lot of people get theirs in 3 or 4 days. It took me 4 weeks before I got
I think we know
my TSA
why.
pre-check.
Gary. Hey, if you're going to win an election, I say bring in Will Ferrell. Gary. That didn't work out too well,
did you see the reporter running up to Oprah?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So what's going on there? You got paid?
How's that work?
And she said, no, I didn't know, but she walked right in her car.
Mm-hmm. Did your company?
Yeah. That's what she's trying to say. I didn't get paid. My company got
Right.
paid.
Well, okay. Who owns the company, though? Who would that be? Because I don't know. Last I heard, Harpo spelled backwards is Oprah.
Babylon B. New information out. Hulk Hogan was paid 3 scratch-offs and a meatball sub from the Trump
But you
campaign.
know what? Kid Rock was paid. He got a Waffle House gift certificate, which actually I'd love one of those. Good at any Waffle House location.
The best one ever.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but the best meme ever.
Mm-hmm. I know.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Was when
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
she got a divorce.
She got a divorce, and
it was like
she's single.
Kid Rock on a beach. It was like
When he found out she was single.
yeah, she just MTG is Signal, and it shows him like doing the fast walking like, with the beer in his hand.
Yeah,
It was the funniest
exactly.
damn thing ever.
It was so funny. Hilarious.
Yes.
That was great. That was a good convention, though. I think the Republicans' convention this year was good.
So do I. Yeah. Well, apparently it was.
Apparently it worked. Hulk Hogan and Kid Rock, great. But really, honestly, what was impressive to me is the fact that it was there. We didn't see any establishment. It was not filled with establishment on that stage. It was the future of the party. It was the proper surrogates, and now we know the proper team that had been assembled. And I think the proper tone. And, it was very, I think it was very well done.
Well, as I said last hour, and I thought it was important to bring it out because it just hit my mind. I said, wow, okay, not exactly, everything's politics, but what you have here, and it was after I saw, Lee Zeldin was, and I'd seen it earlier, but when I just read it, I went, oh, yeah, I forgot to say Lee Zeldin earlier for EPA administrator. And I went, wow, all these people can explain stuff.
Yeah.
And I went, wow, that's it right there.
Mm-hmm.
You have an administration coming in that says, we're going to explain stuff. We're going to
Right.
communicate effectively for you.
Yeah.
And for me, and for you, because we were criticized very heavily in the past for accusing the GOP and Trump of not communicating effectively.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were one of the leaders in that, saying, you got to communicate the message.
Yep.
And so, we have no problem if we thought they were horrible at doing that. We're not going to back off.
Right.
But they have just communicated incredible. Trump has shown incredible discipline where I have said, and this is not an insult, Trump has become an extremely effective politician.
Yeah.
And I say that with the highest compliment. We're not the kind of, he's just a politician. Well, let me see. Their job is to get votes, get elected, and implement policy. Is that a politician? Yeah. Oh, my God, how terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what makes you a terrible politician is, let me just, I need to move away from the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
What makes you a politician is when you run for political office, get elected, and what you implement sucks.
Yeah. Well, you go after people. It's funny because it's not funny, actually. It's tragic. When we talk about the Democrats coming in and, this whole idea of abundance, they've been coming after and we've talked about it. We said it in 2020. Tell us what the Democrats are offering people. All they want to do is punish and take things away.
Exactly. We've said that. Yeah.
and Biden delivered on that promise.
Yeah.
Over and over again.
Well, when inflation hits, you have less abundance.
Exactly.
I mean, and that's Ezra Klein from the New York Times, in case you just tuned in now, said that earlier. We can't be the party of scarcity. We have to be the party that provides abundance. And it's like, well, you can't.
You can't. There's no way that party can do that.
Your whole goal is the opposite. Your goal
Right.
is the opposite. It's not, well, this just happened that we can't apply, we can't provide abundance. No, that's your goal.
In fact, they worked really hard to demonize capitalism, the expansion of wealth, and everything along the way to make sure that it sounds evil in people's minds.
Well, the entire thing, I mean, which I shake my head and say, does Ezra Klein, does he have any self-awareness whatsoever? The whole climate change push is you have too much.
Yeah.
That's why we mentioned Obama last hour.
Mm-hmm.
When he went to Africa and said, sorry, you can't have air conditioning and you can't have cars. You can't live in a modern society because we're going to have to cut back.
Right.
We're going to have to take less. The whole concept of liberalism is to take us back to the cavemen days.
Exactly.
Excuse me. Person.
Cave person days.
Yes.
Reminded me of, was it Trudeau who interrupted someone who said mankind?
Was it true?
And then he says, we say person kind. Well, you're weird. I say mankind like all of mankind does. We say person kind.
Let's get real sexist here and talk about woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, chicks hate that.
Oh, yeah. The conservative women I know spend an awful lot of time worried about that crap.
Right, exactly. Right. Please.
Stop it. It's like,
please.
Getting to all this, I just happened. I had this open before the show began, so a couple of hours this window's been here, and it's Maureen Dowd. Remember Maureen Dowd? Remember when she said that her liberal friends, when things don't go their way, they just shut off everything?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you saw MSNBC's ratings the last couple of days.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like down, like they don't want to hear anything.
Right.
But she said when they don't want to hear, when it doesn't fit their narrative, they don't want to hear any explanation. They just turn it off. And Maureen Dowd said it. And she wrote an article, Democrats in the case of missing identity politics. More people voted for Trump, even though many didn't like him, because they liked the Democratic Party less. This was really interesting, though. She, here it is, Democrat candidates have often been the avatars of elitism. Michael Dukakis, Al Gore, John Kerry, Hillary Clinton, and second-term Barack Obama. The party embraced a worldview of hyper-political correctness, condescension, cancellation. I'm glad they put Obama in there because it was the second term where he told Africa, sorry, you can't become a first world continent.
Right.
You're going to have to live in poverty. You can't have air conditioning. You can't have this because the oceans will boil.
Right.
But it says the party embraced a worldview of hyper-political correctness, condescension, cancellation, and it supported diversity statements for job applicants and faculty lounge terminology like Latinx, BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, People of Color, that alienated half the country or more, and the chaos and the anti-Semitism at many college campuses certainly didn't help. As Rahm Emanuel told me, when the woke police, this is a great line, and it comes from a guy who's a liberal, but apparently understands where they went wrong.
The former king of Chicago
Yes.
and former chief of staff for Obama.
From Rahm Emanuel, when the woke police come at you, you don't even get your Miranda rights read to you.
They know it.
Wow, there are a lot of Democrats barking people who don't represent anybody, he said, and the leadership of the party was intimidated. He goes, Donald Trump played to the irritation of many Americans disgusted at being regarded as insensitive for talking the way they'd always talk. At rallies, he referred to women as beautiful and then pretended to admonish himself, saying he'd get in trouble for using that word. He'd also call women darling and joke that he had to be careful because his political career could be at risk.
Right.
Oh, my gosh. Here it is, though. A revealing survey that ran in the Financial Times showed that white progressives hold views far to the left of the minorities that they champion. White progressives think at higher rates than blacks or Hispanics that racism is built into our society. Many more black and Hispanic Americans surveyed compared with white progressives responded that America is the greatest country in the world. That's from Maureen Dowd.
Yeah.
She's a liberal Democrat.
Right. Wow.
I'll say that again. The chart showed that white progressives hold views far to the left of minorities. White progressives think at higher rates than Hispanic and black Americans that racism is built into our society. Many more black and Hispanic Americans surveyed compared with white progressives responded that America is the greatest country in the world. Wow. I will say this, though. I think it comes back to what you and I have always said. Because we were always, when it first happened, you know, you're a little bit shocked. When you come out and you say, well, here's why I believe this particular conservative thing. We don't get it anymore, but we used to. You guys are racist for that. What do you mean? How's that racist? And we would think to ourselves, why do they jump on the racism thing immediately? Why won't they argue the point? Why is it you're a racist for it? Then you can't get an explanation. And what we realized, that's when we learned about projection, that people project on you what they are. And what we found out, and I do believe it, that you see this, when you see this, as she's talking about the studies showing that white progressives hold views far to the left, and they believe that racism is built in our society and that America is not a great country, it's because they're racist and they're guilty about it. I think that's where people talk about white guilt. That's where it is in the liberal. They judge people by groups. We know the Democratic Party does. That's what they do. That's what identity politics is.
Right.
They judge people by groups and not individuals.
Right.
They do that. It's part of who they are. They feel guilty about it. So they assume and they project at you when they disagree with you that you must be a racist too.
Right. And if you're, you know, again, if you don't go along with them, if you have any dissent or question, then they come in with the labeling.
Yeah.
You know, this is, again, was the biggest part probably of getting us to where we are and what happened a week ago today. And that is, once again, liberals trying to tell people you're too stupid to know how you even feel. You're too stupid. Your eyes are lying to you. You see something, whether it's the cognitive decline of a president, inflation, or racism. You're a racist. And if you say you're not, that tells us you're even more of a racist.
Right, right. And things like autonomy and individuality are racism, are white
Exactly.
supremacy,
Right.
which of course is ridiculous.
And you
The
can't,
whole-
and
right.
you can't, by the way, it's part of your DNA. You can't change it. And the more you say I'm not a racist tells us more and more that you are a racist. This is how the left has built this whole thing out. You're too stupid to know who you are.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I also think there's a, when you look at it, because we were talking about Maureen Dowd's column that she was talking about identity politics again, killing the Democrats. It's something that we've talked about. We weren't lying to you when we said it. Democrats are now being blunt in there have been some Democrats have been blunt in stating it, but I believe it's more, I said where they showed that white progressives actually believe that the country is more racist than minorities do.
Yeah,
and
right.
I believe it's because they're projecting, and also because they've been practicing identity politics, that they're guilty, that they're racist. That's where, if you want to know where the white guilt is, because we've heard that term, I believe white guilt exists almost exclusively in white progressives out there.
Right.
But the other thing is there's also the combination of that and virtue signaling.
Mm.
I'm the problem, I'm the problem, I'm the problem, or my skin color is the problem, whatever. There's a certain type of satisfaction of virtue signaling, I believe. I don't understand it.
Right.
I'm just describing it because to me it's like, what do you – I'm like you. I'm a solve the problem guy.
Yeah.
I don't sit there and I don't have emotions that are negative. I don't have a narrative or a thought process that says I am superior to you because of my skin color, or I've never bought into any of that. I don't buy into identity politics. If you buy into identity politics, part of you is racist. Sorry, but you are.
Right.
And I think there's a combination of progressive guilt and at the same time virtue signaling that's coming from them, because the imagery of that is so important to Democrats, and that's where I get to the point in my mind where I don't understand how their mind works.
Well, and that's it. But it, again, it's the building of all of this culture through years and years and years and years of indoctrination.
Mm-hmm.
You can't deprogram somebody after that. I don't know how you get them to open their eyes.
The show that never stops. Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Crowley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. This is interesting. I saw this on X, and it was posted by Justine Bateman.
Yeah.
As I said yesterday, that we all thought that it would be Alex P. Keaton.
Right. Exactly.
Who was the capitalist conservative.
Right.
It ended up being Mallory. Was that Family Ties?
Family Ties.
Family Ties.
Yes. And the parents were hippies.
Yes. By the way, I'm sorry, but Michael Gross's my favorite character of him of all time.
Tremors.
Bert on, I don't care whether it's the Tremors that is stupid.
Yeah.
The like Tremors 1 and 2, great, but 3, 4, 5, he's in them all.
Yeah.
And he's just his character is just absolute greatness.
Yeah. Genius. It was great. Love it.
Sort of the opposite of the hippie dad on
Yeah, he was. He really was. Yes.
And there was some speaking of Christmas movies, there was some Hallmark movie a couple of years ago. I don't even know what it was. But I remember I was just going through and there it was. And I watched it because he was on it. And he played, again, it was almost a parody of the father on Family Ties.
Yeah.
And Meredith Baxter Birney was also on it.
Right.
She was his wife in the show.
Right.
I can't remember what the
But she
Christmas
was
show
also in the same movie?
The same movie as his wife.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Now, they were a little bit, it was almost like they were playing a parody of the way that they used to be, with the sense of humor. But it was I can't even remember what the movie was.
Right. Yeah.
But we have, but this is posted, and she basically posted what a Michael Schellenberger post. Now, Michael Schellenberger was part of the Twitter files. He's a Democrat. I don't believe he voted for Trump. I think he voted Libertarian. I'm not sure. But, you and I have talked about people like him, Matt Taibbi, who was also in the Twitter files, Barry Weiss, and others that were lifelong Democrats. And we believe it was the censoring attempt that we saw in 2020. And when they went through the Twitter files and saw how the FBI, the relationship the FBI had with Twitter at that time, where ex-FBI agents were working in Twitter, and their whole goal was to censor. And they were communicating with people that worked with the FBI. I think that literally scared the hell out of them. I really do.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
Schellenberger did this little monologue. By the way, when I said little, I didn't mean it, because when you say, oh, yeah, here's his little. Did you do your little show?
Yeah.
I didn't mean to say that as an insult, but he did a short, I'll say short monologue here on, Democrats not understanding, what happened in this election. And as I've said, this election, by far, now that part of it's done. Now we're going to go like we always do and see where this administration goes. I'm not too into the minutia of what's happening now, because until they get into office and start setting policy, everything is really hypothetical or a guess as to what they do with particular people, even though I'm pleased for the most part. And it really doesn't matter who he picks, because I know there'll be an extension of what he wants to do. And I think he learned from last time, you hire people that understand you're in charge and what you say goes.
Yeah, right.
So you don't get back into that, okay, apparently there's been a failure to communicate.
Right. What we have here
is a failure to communicate. And so I voted for Trump, number one, by far, to stop the weaponization of government, to stop the lawfare. Because any other issue doesn't matter if you don't get a handle on that.
Right.
And so Trump's victory gave us at least, at minimum, a pause on that. And now I can look and go, all right, as I've said before with Trump, probably I agree with 75 to 80% of what he's doing. And most Republican presidents, it's probably 50 to 60, if that sometimes. And so I thought this was really interesting what Schellenberger had to say as a former Democrat who, along with a bunch of other former Democrats, had the living hell scared out of them because of the Twitter files. Here we go.
These results are nothing short of a massive political realignment that should put to bed once and for all the corrosive myth that Trump's coalition is driven by white supremacy or fascism. And so if anybody really wants to understand why so many of us, even if we have our criticisms of Trump, feel relief and vindication as victory, they need to consider that it has more to do with the repudiation of totalitarianism than with Trump as a person or even his policies. Wokeism, or whatever you want to call it, progressivism, identity politics, radical leftism, has been rampaging through society for roughly the last decade. Sometime between Occupy Wall Street in 2011 and the first Black Lives Matter protests in 2013, seemingly normal liberals and Democrats started to lose their minds. Everything became racist. Everything became suspicious. Nothing was more suspicious than not agreeing 100% with the official woke Democratic agenda. Trump's election put wokeism on steroids. Suddenly, a word that in the past only extreme radical leftists had used to describe a Republican president, fascist, was now being used by very serious people like the New York Times columnists, establishment Democrats, and the previously sober foreign policy establishment. From news and entertainment media to schools and universities, these institutions encouraged and participated in the mass condemnation and cancellation of heretics, which became known as the Great Awakening and was really a new witch hunt. Ordinary and otherwise decent people behaved cruelly. They accused people they had known for years or decades of bigotry or racism, or of wanting to genocide trans people, or wanting millions to die from COVID. Diverging from progressive orthodoxy in any way became enough for people to not only end friendships, but to insist that the transgressors be ostracized and excommunicated. Those who had made a great show of being courageously open-minded and tolerant became intolerant, incurious, and cowardly. We were asked to pretend that the people carrying the pitchforks and torches to go witch hunting were in fact well-intentioned and just cared a lot more than the rest of us. They didn't. Behind the totalitarianism were individuals who had given into base motives like hedonism, envy, dogmatism, self-righteousness, prejudice, snobbery, psychopathy. Reconciliation is the higher road than revenge. But such reconciliation cannot occur until we confront the lies and reveal the full truth of the totalitarianism that we all just went through. We must not let the abusers gaslight us into thinking that what occurred was anything other than abnormal.
Michael Schellenberger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, again, part of the plan in building out socialism, it has to be this repetition of, well, that is wrong, that is wrong, that is racist, that is racist, that is wrong, that is wrong, that is wrong. That's so that you can control speech, so that you can control, once you control the speech, you start to control the thought. And they had moved in that direction in major significant ways, the left. You know, another big part of it is something where you have, and we've seen this over the years, Democrats wanting to control larger and larger chunks of the economy, whether it's energy or healthcare, because that's what you do. You basically move in to break the private sector so that eventually government can take the means of control. When you control the capital and you control the means of control, the means of production, you then are in full-on communism. And there is, and it's not this is not a conspiracy theory. This has been the plan for a long, long time. But it must include controlling the language. It has to include controlling the language. One of the things that Schellenberger, along with Barry Weiss and Taibbi, and all those that were involved in the Twitter files found, was how that control really, everybody was kind of in sync. The FBI had come in, and they were controlling the narrative. We know this too. Zuckerberg admitted it about the time that the Twitter files were going on. He came out and said, well, yeah, no, they came to us on the whole laptop thing. And the idea is to keep controlling that narrative. Beyond the lawfare, beyond the weaponization of the Department of Justice against one person, is something we've talked about and what drove you and I in big ways on this election cycle. And that is the culture built within that to go after everyday Americans. And we had been warning for a long time. If they'll go after Trump, don't think for a minute they won't come after you. Next thing you know, they're sitting in parking lots taking down the license plate numbers of parents who want to issue a grievance in a public school meeting. If you can control the language and control the behavior and eventually control huge chunks of the economy, you're more than three-fourths there. You are well on your way to socialism and communism, where the Democrats would be seated forever. The American people had a great dose of reality in COVID, and not just the actual COVID effect itself. It was a pandemic of reaction, the second pandemic, and that is the overreaction of where the left wanted to come in and control everything. They saw that as a great opportunity. You couldn't talk about a lab leak theory until Jon Stewart did. And that was the thing. Jon Stewart that night, it almost felt like Dennis Leary in Demolition Man. It felt like he was looking at, come on, you guys, like he crawled out of a manhole cover and came up from the underground and said, come on, guys, look at what this is. Like he was delivering some kind of contraband piece of information, because it was breaking the narrative. What he was doing in that moment on his buddy's TV show, that his buddy wouldn't have if it weren't for him, by the way, was kicking that door open with all the faults of Jon Stewart. That one thing alone had other people getting up to the, table going, Yeah, why can't we actually talk about that? Nobody's saying they have proof it was a lab leak, but certainly now we point to things and it sure looks like it was a lab leak. Why can't we even have the conversation about that? Well, you couldn't. Why can't you have a question about certain things, everything actually on the agenda for the left? Well, that's dissent. Any question will not be tolerated because the momentum goes that way. Silence is violence. You can't even be quiet. You must be on the rampage with us. Otherwise, we're going to come after you. And that's what people saw. A lot of people saw how the left was behaving and has been behaving for a long, long time, and their eyes were opened.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Did you check to see if any new middle of the night appointees now to the Trump administration? Because stuff has been coming in throughout the night. Kristi Noem, is South Dakota governor for HHS, right?
Right.
No, yeah. No, Homeland Security.
Homeland Security, yeah. There were a couple of, the questions on, I guess, Health and Human Services, and we'll see where, that goes. Rubio, Secretary of State, Kristi Noem, Homeland Security Secretary, getting word that Michael Rappaport might be the truth czar. That could be just a rumor that I just started seconds ago.
Did you hear Tucker Carlson said no, he will not take press secretary. He said you need somebody in there who doesn't hate the media.
Well, he makes a point. He does have a good point.
He said you need to, if you're going to promote it, you need to at least appear to have a sense of fairness towards the media, and I don't.
That is a fair point. At least he's being honest about it.
Yes.
Yeah. But, I think, again, as all of this comes in, all this starts to come together here, it's very clear that there is a much different tone than 2016, but everybody understands also that the mandate that is in place as a result of how the American people voted a week ago today.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA and around the world, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Curley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Red Eye Radio, now legal in most counties in California.
Wow. All right, you ready for an analysis? Mm-hmm. Harry Enton from CNN.
Okay.
Looked at all the exit polls from this election. Okay?
All right.
Here's what he found out.
Holy Toledo. All right, Trump gained ground in 49 states and the District of Columbia compared to 2020. I went back through the record books. When was the last time a party gained in so many different places? You have to go all the way back to 1992 when Bill Clinton improved upon Michael Dukakis's performance in 49 states, plus the District of Columbia. The bottom line is no matter where you looked on the map, Kate Baldwin, no matter where you looked, Donald Trump was improving on where he did 4 years ago, except for Washington State. It is no wonder that at this particular point, he looks like he's going to be the first Republican to win the popular vote since George W. Bush back in 2004.
And to pull that off, he gained ground with groups that Republicans do not generally count as part of their winning coalition, or really at all. How much ground did he gain?
Yeah, holy Toledo. It's just like, oh my goodness gracious. These are the types of groups that you would never have thought that Donald Trump would have gained so much support among 8 years ago when he first won against Hillary Clinton. Trump's was the best GOP showing among 18 to 29-year-olds in 20 years. You have to go all the way back to 2004. How about among black voters? It was the best performance for a Republican candidate for president in 48 years since Gerald Ford back in 1976. And among Hispanic voters, the exit polls only go back since 1972. But Donald Trump's performance on Tuesday was the best for a Republican presidential candidate in exit poll history. He literally goes all the way back through history and breaks history. This is what we're talking about, Kate Baldwin. Groups that you never thought that Donald Trump would do well among, even for a Republican candidate, that is what he did. If the 2016 election was about Donald Trump breaking through with white working class voters, this election was about breaking through and going to that Democratic coalition and tearing it apart.
And it wasn't just what he did for his own support. It trickled down to helping the Senate and helping in the House?
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of talk this morning and this week is, you know, the GOP is going to have a Senate majority. We don't know if the Republicans are going to have a House majority, but we think that that's the most likely to be the case. But I want you to look at the 2024 House GOP national vote showing. So this is the House popular vote. Currently, the GOP is ahead by 5 points. I expect that to shrink a little bit as some of the California results come in. But that, if let's just say he wins, the House GOP wins by more than 2.6 points, it will be the best House GOP showing in a presidential year in the House popular vote since 1928. If there's any viewer out there who is that old, God bless you. But the bottom line is it was probably the best House GOP national vote showing during most of our viewers' lifetimes.
Dad remembers. And, well, he doesn't. He was born in 1926, so I'm sure he wasn't paying attention to
but
politics.
he was probably already, at 2 years old, with his engineering mind, already building things, probably, putting things together. First of all, I'd say to Mr. Enton, quit adding the word hundred when you go back to the 1900s. 1972. Hey. I was alive then. It sounds older when you do that.
Yeah, when you say
it sounds longer.
100.
But he does point out all of these things, all of these unprecedented ways that that happened here. Donald Trump, the Republican Party, making history, and it's you heard his reactions. My goodness gracious, and holy cow, and all these things. When you break down the data of it, New York Times was doing that on the fly during their live updates that night, and it is clear what has happened here. Donna Brazile wants you to believe it's just Trump's ground game. No, it's as we've said for years, you can have all the money in the world, you can have everything going for you, you can have all of this if you're not delivering the right message. But reality also is what was on Donald Trump's side. There was the reality of everything, and he really became the poster child. When we talk about the targeting from the Department of Justice and lawfare and all of these things, he was the face of all of that, and also the eye-opener to that when people started realizing, oh, they're not just going after him. They'll go after anybody that disagrees with them, and this is extremely dangerous. Then the reality of the cost of everything with inflation, the broken border, increased crime in neighborhoods that, they were either lying or not accurate about. And we, again, go back to this. The liberals wanted you to believe you weren't seeing what you were seeing at every step of the way. That's not what's happening. Inflation is good. It's transitory. Biden is fine. There's nothing wrong with him. All of these things are, crime's not on the rise. The border is secure. And over again, when you tell people you're too stupid to see what your eyes are telling you you're seeing. That's especially harmful to them in a way that I can't measure. And reality was and is, these things must be fixed. The things that are broken, and it's everything, must be fixed. I can't imagine the job for anybody coming in that's going to be a part of Trump's administration and staff or the Republican Party. You've got your work cut out for you, and everybody's expecting you to deliver. I think Trump knows that. But everybody along the way is going to have that in their brain, in the top of their mind at every step along the way.
I was thinking that was it Libby Lee, the one donor?
Yeah.
That has come out and just said, man, oh man, they lied to us. That's an interesting point that's coming out, is that the donors now are accusing the Harris administration or the Harris campaign of lying to them, saying they could win and they knew they couldn't win. And then also the whole thing about Joe Biden when he was running, the whole thing that he could win.
Yeah.
And I did see this. Who put it out yesterday that said somebody said Joe Biden could have won, and they said BS. No, he couldn't have. But this is John Favreau, who was a Obama speechwriter. Okay, and he's commented on a ton of different things. This is really interesting, and he actually has the poll numbers of Biden post-debate with Trump. Here we go.
Yeah. Joe Biden's decision to run for president again was a catastrophic mistake. It just was. And he and his inner circle, they refused to believe the polls. They refused to believe he was unpopular. They refused to acknowledge until very late that anyone could be upset about inflation, and they just kept telling us that his presidency was historic and it was the greatest economy ever. We just heard him again say that it's the greatest economy ever. Clearly, 70-80% of voters don't believe that. They don't believe that about their own personal financial situation, but they just keep telling us that. And then after the debate, the Biden people told us that the polls were fine, and Biden was still the strongest candidate. And they were privately telling reporters at the time that Kamala Harris couldn't win. So they were shivving Kamala Harris to reporters while they told everyone else, not a time for an open process, and his vice president can't win, so he's the strongest candidate. Then we find out when the Biden campaign becomes the Harris campaign, that the Biden campaign's own internal polling at the time when they were telling us he was the strongest candidate showed that Donald Trump was going to win 400 electoral votes.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Then going back to CNN's data reporter, Harry Enton, he broke down also yesterday how the Democratic Party has no one waiting in the wings for the next presidential primary season. For the first time since the 1990s, there is no clear leader or preferred candidate in the early stages to potentially win the nomination for the 2028 presidential primary for the first time since 92. Former Democratic presidential nominee Al Gore, Hillary Clinton, and President Joe Biden became the party's clear leaders throughout the 21st century by earning a favorability rating of over 25% in national polls. Nobody has that for Democrats.
Yeah. Wow.
We can see this perhaps best by, let's take a look at the early poll leader in 2028. There isn't one.
There isn't one.
There's no early favorite. There's no clear favorite. And that is really unusual because the bottom line is when you have no incumbent Democrat president following this year, we've looked back at similar situations. Back in 2017, Joe Biden was the clear heir apparent. In 2005, and then in 2013, heading into the 2016 campaign, Hillary Clinton was up in national polls. It was pretty clear she was the next the replacement. How about Al Gore going into the 2000 campaign or 04? Again, the clear heir apparent. You have to go all the way back to the 1992 campaign with this giant question mark over here, where there was no clear, as they say, heir apparent. This is going to be the first cycle, it seems, going back to the late 80s, early 90s, when there's no clear front runner for the Democratic nomination. The lack of a clear leader for the Democratic Party could be good news for the party, given that Clinton lost the nomination to former President Barack Obama in the 2008 primary season. Enton and CNN's John Berman explained after hearing no clear leader in 1992, Democrats also won that year's election when former President Bill Clinton defeated incumbent President Herbert Walker Bush. But here's the problem. They lost on the issues.
Yeah.
What is and the radical
They
issues,
did.
because
Yeah, right.
they're as radical as you can be. They weren't as radical back then.
Right.
Who comes in for the Democrat who can sell moderation? It's not Newsom.
Well,
Anybody
how do you get the core support to get there in the first place?
You know, you would mention, and I think it's a good point. You said, will Gallego, since he apparently beat Kerry Lake, that's what came out yesterday.
Yeah.
Will he be the one that Republicans go to because he's got to be more of a moderate? Will there be moderates in the Senate for the Democrats over the next 3 years that will be more moderate, realizing you can't win in these radical ways? And will that be the person who will be the front runner, or will that be a number of people who will be a front runner? Because right now, every single Democrat that exists right now is viewed as establishment crazy Democrats.
Well,
who is it? Which one is it?
You have to rebuild the team.
Right.
And you have to rebuild the team from the ground up.
But to rebuild the team, you have to repudiate all the
Exactly.
radicalism, and you have to repudiate
Exactly.
identity politics, which is the creation of victims and oppressors, and by stereotyping people by the group they're in, not as individuals. That's how you create the different groups of oppressors out there.
Right.
How do you move? I've said since 2018, they've got to do something different. I don't know how you can back out of identity politics unless you get a Donald Trump. But Trump isn't even moving the Republican Party as nearly as far as you would need to as a Democrat to move them into the same category on the issues.
Right, you're right. Because there is no, I do believe there is a, I don't know, refreshing, what's the word I'm looking for, of the GOP. This is, it's not necessarily out with the old and with the new, but it kind of is. And the establishment no longer has the stage. They no longer have the microphone and the GOP. This is a new age of fighting. Eric Schmidt, the one of the senators from Missouri, yesterday withdrew his name for consideration for Attorney General, and he wrote on X, he posted, he said, you can confirm this. He was elected in 2022 and wants to fight, and for Missouri, but also with Trump, and he believes he's better served to do that in the Senate, clearly, and we'll see where it goes on AG. But you see that fight that's the common thread in everyone, J.D. Vance and all of them, and also the very reasonable, I believe, and thoughtful approach, direct approach, that is bold yet straight to the point, and that's the thing that has changed with the GOP, but that's delivering the message. We're talking about completely changing the fundamentals of the Democratic Party. It's going to be more than one person, and it can't happen within just one cycle. It won't happen. I don't know who that person is who's going to be at the top of the list in 28. But good luck, because you have to throw out, like you said, you have to leave all the radicals behind to moderate. How do you do that?
Well, the mainstream right now of Democratic media and everything else, the problem is we need to censor more.
Right.
That's what you hear.
Exactly.
We need regulations on free speech is the mainstream
Yes.
of the Democratic Party.
Right.
No matter whether you want to get rid of identity politics or not, that's still the number one thing that everybody's talking about.
Yes.
You have to stop Elon Musk because there's too much misinformation out there. That just lost them an election.
Yep.
They can't win on that, and that's what's become mainstream over the last week.
Yep.
866-98 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on speed and space management. When driving, you need to manage the space around your vehicle so that there's enough space to allow you to adjust when traffic conditions change. The space ahead of your vehicle is the most important and one of the easiest to monitor and adjust as needed. One rule of thumb is to allow at least 1 second for each 10 feet of vehicle length at speeds below 40 miles per hour. At greater speeds, add an additional second. It's impossible to keep other drivers from tailgating you, but there are some things you can do to make it safer, such as increasing your following distance, avoiding quick lane changes, and slowing down. There are also several things you should do to ensure that there is plenty of space between the side of your vehicle and other vehicles. Don't hug the center line, avoid hugging the right side of the road, and avoid traveling alongside other vehicles in strong winds, especially crosswinds. This tip was brought to you by JJ Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Same old attacks that aren't going to work. I'm just reading here from the Huffington Post from 10 minutes ago. Marco Rubio's anti-Trump comments come back to haunt him amid Secretary of State buzz.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
You said it because you believe that's an angle, but it didn't matter for J.D. Vance, and it didn't matter because America has changed on him. He just pulled off the biggest comeback in American political history.
Well, Marco Rubio's been one of the surrogates that's out there. He was in the Veep stakes. You know, all this is, again, trying to bring this up. It's all, and you had J.D. Vance address it very, very quickly,
right,
and disarm the media on this. And the leftist media is going to do what the leftist media is going to do, but it goes nowhere.
Well, it goes nowhere because the country changed on Trump.
Exactly. It's like saying, well, people who voted for him this time and had never voted for him, they've got something to answer for. No, they don't. No, they don't.
And that's the thing. They only know how to attack in one way.
Right.
And they've been doing this. It was interesting to hear Michael Schellenberger talk about how he, you know, when things really, when Democrats went absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And that was sometime between the Wall Street, what do you call it?
Occupy Wall Street.
Occupy Wall Street. And the summer of 2020 is when they just went crazy.
Right.
But we've been dealing with this and knew this was coming for the longest time, for over 30 years.
Right.
Since I've been a talk show host, identity politics has been used by Democrats.
Right.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he is Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. Now, for entertainment purposes only, let's check out another woman. What do they call it? The four? Is it four?
B4?
Is it B4 or 4B?
B4?
Mm-hmm. B4. These are the women that are
the movement.
The movement to cut men off from sex because Trump won. Well, this is
now it's different than the B12 movement, which is to cut people off from vitamins.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this one's a little. This one has its own spin. Okay, you ready for this?
All right.
Here's this woman. Okay, here we go.
Not sure why no one understands how I feel. You guys know that my husband turned Republican this term. I don't know why. I threw his ass out of the house. And I have to do more. I don't want to shave my head because that's going to hurt him. I'm going to look ugly. So I'm not doing that. I think I'm going to sleep with his friends. I think that's the only way. I think sleeping with his friends will do. What do you guys think? His liberal friends, of course.
Yeah, his liberal friends, of course. Yes, you were right. 4B movement.
4B movement, right.
Yeah. So she's going to sleep with his friends. What do you guys think?
Well, I think
you probably weren't loyal to your husband to begin with.
There is a word for that.
Yeah.
Promiscuous.
Mm-hmm. I was going to use another word, but yeah, okay.
Well, there's more, I think, crude words to describe it, yes. But
I mean, if that's how you want to behave. Look, as long as it's consensual, I guess that's, your choice, or that's between two parties or three, if the case may be.
Maybe I can, maybe since I'm the single one here, that I can take this into a different direction and see how it works.
Right. Okay.
I'm looking to have sex with every hot woman out there. Think it'll work for me?
Sure. You should do.
To celebrate Trump's victory,
you should protest
sex with all hot women.
Or you should protest. Here's where you would be enormously successful.
I don't like the sound of this.
You should protest the liberal movement by withholding sex from supermodels.
Oh, you're right.
You would
would be more
enormously successful.
That would be more satisfying. Thank you.
Because your discipline would be unmatched.
Yes. I'm sorry for my immaturity there that I showed. That would actually be the right. I'm going to withhold all sex from supermodels.
Right. Yep. Starting starting now.
I was going to say, but only the real skinny ones.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Those are all the supermodels.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, my God. They sound so stupid.
You'll show them, Gary.
No more supermodel sex.
And hopefully they'll learn their lesson. That'll teach them.
You know the best thing is when you say stuff like that, of course, kidding. And again, I don't know how many of these are real. You and I have talked about how many people are just trying to get.
I think a lot of these are people that make it up, but not all.
But not all. But the ones, we'd be speaking for the ones that actually, have done that and said, well, since my candidate didn't win, I'm going to go on social media and publicly show people what a complete moron I am.
Yeah.
But the fact is that they actually, some people are serious and they do this, and it's fun just to say those stupid things because then it really brings home how stupid it is.
Yeah.
When I said that, I went, God, that really is stupid. I mean, you really are a moron to say something like that. It's like
it really is stupid. Again, I don't know how many of them are fake or not. I suspect a few of them are. But thanks for setting it up for the GOP in 2028. I mean, if this is going to be your reaction, that idea, though, of, no more sex. I'm withholding. Again, was there a line at the door?
Well, she's not withholding.
I know.
Just from him.
Actually, she's going to have maybe more sex.
Yes.
I mean, she is married.
Well, what if the surprise is on her and the reason that he turned GOP is because all of his liberal buddies did too?
Oh,
that would be my hope.
Now she's got nowhere to go for sex. That's the conundrum. A sex conundrum. That's the worst kind of conundrums. Of all the conundrums to be in, A sex conundrum.
This is our conversation on the air right now. But we have to
Program
respond.
directors are waking up to get some water. Like, what's going on my station right now? What is happening right now? Someone pull the fire alarm or something?
You know something? After the last year, I don't think anything surprises anybody anymore, does it?
Yeah, probably
It
not.
really does. It's
Probably not.
They're talking about the women. Oh, there's women that want to have sex because Trump lost? Okay.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Well, that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see
Well,
women that support Trump. You know, since they're going to withhold it, we're not.
And she said, it's going to shave my head, but that won't. No, go with that. That's the best idea.
Yes.
Go ahead. What? Yeah. Yeah.
Since Trump won, now
Mhm.
this would be the proper way. Since Trump won, I'm going to at least keep myself open for a long-term relationship based on trust and respect.
You're weird. That's just weird. I've been married for well over 3 decades, and that's weird.
Oh, I'm sure you know she's not listening right now. That's why.
I changed the station on her phone. Oh, wait, you can't do that. Never mind.
Meanwhile, I can't play it because he went bonkers. James Carville went absolutely nuts. Did you see that yesterday?
Yeah.
He's F-word this and
yeah.
GD this and now he is I want to make this clear. He is not offering to become promiscuous. I just want to make that clear. He's not
Right.
offering. James Carville, because Harris lost, is not doing that one. He's just losing it, though. He completely losing it. I told him through the identity politics. I told them. And he's just F-bombed this. And
Well, with older liberal guys, it might be a threat to actually offer sex to your wife. Mary, we're just joking.
That's right.
We're just joking.
I wonder how things are going in that household right now. People don't know.
She's sipping on wine.
Yeah, his
and-
wife is a Republican. Just
Yeah,
so-
yeah. She's sipping on some wine and reading about the news of the day, and he's out in the garage with a hammer just banging on things randomly.
But he's all over the place.
Mhm.
Remember, the last 2 weeks before, he said, absolutely, she's going to win.
Yeah.
Well, based on, you saw what he said, because Trump's a blankety, 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 blank.
Yeah.
But he didn't offer anything specific. And he's always been railing against identity politics.
Yeah.
He hasn't always been, but the last few years he has. I will say that.
Yeah.
But, hey, it's who your party is. It's who you support.
What? It's something you helped build.
Yeah. James, you helped build it.
This was the inevitable conclusion. You're part of that, leading of the sheep to the edge of the cliff. And now you're turned around asking why all the sheep are running, toward you. Well, they're headed over the cliff, exactly where you were leading them. This is part you're doing. I love the idea of, it's entertaining, at least, to watch the phenomenon of people trying to play both sides of it. Bill Maher's one prime example. Go ahead, years ago, saying that we called the other guys Hitler. This guy really is Hitler. He truly is Hitler. Oh, actually, he's not. And I know that because they're different people. What was that issue on? Well, when she was when Kamala was trying to separate herself from Joe Biden,
Yes.
answering the question, well, number one, we're two separate people. She did
that twice or three times, and she
Yeah, she
stopped
did.
it because she was mocked. So
Exactly. But this is, again, part of what you build when you engage that way. And Bill Maher's, I think he's always trying to play independent. Bill, you're a liberal. Own it.
yeah,
Own it. And for Carville, go have a glass of wine with Mary. Relax. You helped build this. You had to have seen this coming. You're shocked that your old playbook doesn't work anymore but eventually it was going to burn out.
Well, they all want to move away from identity politics, but what they forget about is identity politics. The first target of identity politics with the Democratic Party, isn't this ironic, was blacks.
Yeah, exactly.
For years.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And that's why it's interesting when Michael Schellenberger was talking about that somewhere between Occupy Wall Street and the summer of 2020, the Democrats went insane. And I thought about that. He goes, okay, 2011, 2012 for that. It's like, well, my God, I've been a talk show host since 89, so it was really 22 years of seeing this coming.
Yeah.
I saw the identity politics. We saw it, with starting, I believe, with Clarence Thomas.
Yeah.
And then when the modern conservative talk radio movement began, Rush went national in 88, I believe it was 88.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on in 89. And so I remember by the time we got to 92, 93, 94, there were, quite a few talk show hosts. It started exploding locally, and you had a number of conservative black talk show hosts who were just raked over the coals for being conservative.
Right.
I didn't see Carville. I didn't see anybody in the Democrat side saying, hey, look, you shouldn't be judging people by their skin color. You should judge them by whether the substance of their argument is good or not.
Right.
It's that simple.
Right.
Nobody did that. And that went on. And you forget about that. It might have blown up between 2011 and then 2020, but it was simmering there, the identity politics, which was going after blacks. And the message was all blacks must think alike.
Yep.
And if you don't, well, then you're not really black.
Right.
That was going on for 22 years before you got to Occupy Wall Street, and then a few years more before you got to the summer of 2020. I didn't see James Carville. I didn't see Bill Maher, anyone coming out and saying this type of identity politics was wrong.
Right.
Or using the Hitler analogy, which he even claimed he used.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's, again, we saw it when it began. We knew where it was going to go. But if you're really worried about, if you're only worried about winning as a party, you have to look at that and say, number one, it's wrong. Number two, it's not going to get us a win. Eventually, it's going to be the failure. It's going to be the implosion that happens.
And that's what you're seeing now.
That's exactly what you're seeing.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You saw Chris Wallace leaving CNN.
Yeah, look, says he wants to possibly do his own podcast. Pretty much everybody's doing their own podcast. My grandson, who's 5.5, he's been on YouTube for years. I just thought to myself, how did it take so long for him to separate from CNN? Remember, he was brought on for the whole CNN Plus when they launched.
Because he had a 3-year deal.
Yeah, he had a 3-year contract, but certainly you'd want to move on. You'd want to make a deal to move on. They just kind of used him in different little ways and no real prominent way. But yeah, I knew it was the contract, but it's, contracts are made to be rewritten because that whole CNN Plus launch, they did launch it straight down the toilet.
That was one of the worst things
horrible.
Ever.
See, people aren't watching your free product.
Right.
Now you want them to pay?
Right. Can't get...
No.
And the funny thing was, we had said that every time it was brought up. Well,
right.
You want people to pay for something that they won't watch for free.
Right.
And we're like, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. And then
Right.
it blew up. And we're
Right.
like, didn't any of these investors or anybody in charge of the money that went forward to start this whole project, which was tens of millions of dollars, ever think that?
Right.
Did that thought ever go through their head like it went through our head?
Right.
Why would you pay for something that you won't even take for free?
Right. Yeah. It just was a bad
It's
idea
amazing, yeah.
day one.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.